Welcome to Hubs and Drivers, a podcast for building product marketers, sponsored by BLD Marketing. I'm Jeff Donaldson, your host. On this episode, Driving Thought Leadership. What's it mean to be a thought leader in the building and construction space? Well, it means that you have verifiable expertise to offer as a brand. And that's through your innovations, your products, and even your people. They have something to say. When you properly leverage those assets, you raise the visibility and credibility of the organization. So how do you increase your thought leadership quotient, thereby building trust and confidence in your brand with your audience? It goes well beyond just pushing product. Joining me for today's discussion is Jake Michalski, a member of my team here at BLD Marketing, Senior PR Content Marketing Specialist. Jake, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we have certain steps that we like to take to help a client figure out their thought leadership platform or find their voice as a thought leader. And we start with what we like to say, determining their expertise or their POV and its relevance. So it's not just about your point of view, but how that's relevant in the marketplace. So as a brand, what is your true expertise and how does that address a marketplace need? How does that relate to the larger issues that are prevalent in the industry? Is that sustainability? Is it collapsing project timelines? You know, in every construction project now, it's about time savings and cost savings in many ways. Maybe it's promoting safety on the job site, or maybe it's an infrastructure investment in some way. So how does what you do, how does the expertise that you bring to the table ladder up to something that is what you would call a higher ideal or a larger issue within the marketplace? Now, we currently represent a client that deals in continuous insulation. Jake, you work on that account. Talk a little bit about what they do and how they can leverage that as a thought leader.
Sure, yeah. So we, like you said, represent a client who manufactures structural sheathing and continuous insulation products. We know throughout the world and within this industry specifically, sustainability is really a hot button issue.
Absolutely.
And this particular manufacturer, they are manufacturing the products that in residential and light commercial construction really help improve the energy efficiency of structures. So, that's kind of their entry point into this specific conversation from a thought leadership perspective. So, one of the goals for their content marketing and thought leadership programs to really find the subject matter experts internally at the manufacturer who can speak to these larger trends, these issues, and really offer their expertise up for their clients and their customers.
And that's relevant to contractors, that's relevant to homeowners, because sustainability permeates just about every conversation when it comes to construction.
Sure, absolutely.
We also have a client that manufactures formwork for concrete construction, and that includes bridge construction. Now, as you know, recently, the federal government passed legislation that invests in infrastructure across the nation. It's actually an historic investment. And that means communities across the nation are going to see better roads, better bridges. It's an investment in that infrastructure. Obviously, our client has a voice in that industry now and has a point of view that is relevant and impactful. So we're looking to leverage that in many ways to talk about formwork and scaffolding and how that relates to bridge construction, because that all ladders up to infrastructure investment. So step number one, determine the expertise and the point of view and its relevance of your brand when it comes to thought leadership. Second is about identifying the ambassadors, Jake. So those are the people within the organization. Talk a little bit about that. How do you identify an ambassador within the organization? Why is that so important?
Sure, yeah. So I think first step there, you want to look internally at who can speak to those larger issues and those topics that we just talked about. So, is it your CEO, your leadership team, product managers, any subject matter experts internally that can really speak to those issues? And that's important because, when your readers are coming to your blog or whatever form of thought leadership you're putting out there, you want to have your leaders and your subject matter experts front and center. So it's really important to kind of look internally, identify who those people are, and like we said, tap into their expertise.
And then it's also a matter of making sure that they're effective ambassadors. Some of the smartest, most capable people aren't necessarily great at delivering a message.
Sure.
They might need coaching. So in many cases, we work with our clients to media train them, to help them with their presentation skills, even to help them write something. Perhaps they have the thoughts, but it's a matter of getting them down on paper. So it's a matter of ensuring that they are putting forward their best selves so that they're communicating not only the POV, but telegraphing their expertise.
Right, yeah, you want to speak with clarity, consistency, and really in a compelling fashion. And like you said, we help clients with that to put their best foot forward when speaking from a thought leadership perspective.
So it's identifying the ambassador and making sure that they are their best selves when they're going out there to represent your organization. Step 3, when it comes to building a thought leadership program, creating the assets and the infrastructure. So you've determined what your POV is and its relevance. You've determined who your spokespeople or your ambassadors are. Now it's about creating the assets and the infrastructure to get that message out. You want to give your brand a more powerful voice by producing timely, relevant, and impactful content, really that showcases your expertise. So that might be creating a blog on your website, starting with written content. That's usually the starting point. You want to populate it with thoughtful and insightful articles on topics you curate based on your expertise. But we want to make sure that that content is varied in length and in subject, right, Jake?
Yeah, definitely. And it really can take a variety of forms. Maybe you start with, like you said, starting with written content, I think is a wise thing to do, and it's kind of the easiest first step. But that can take a variety of forms. It could be, a typical blog post, 500-word article, something like that. Is it a Q&A with your CEO or a subject matter expert? Is it a listicle that you put together on, key points about a particular trend or issue within the marketplace? So, yeah, starting with written content is a really good first step, and there are a lot of different ways you can do that, though.
And sometimes it's a matter of developing one of those in-depth white papers that takes a deep dive and has a ton of research and statistics. Sure. We're working with a client right now, that same client in formwork and scaffolding, and we just produced a white paper for them that takes a deeper dive into the scaffolding solutions they're providing to a liquefied natural gas facility along the Gulf of Mexico. Now, of course, natural gas production is huge in this country, and this facility requires a lot of infrastructure to get it up and running, and scaffolding is key to that. Our client's solution, they have numbers to prove that their approach, their solution, their thought leadership in this arena can really produce cost savings for contractors. So we've done a deep dive and developed a white paper for them. It's likely going to be a gated asset for them in the months to come. We also want to consider video content. Do we want to go out there and perhaps capture our subject matter experts on video, getting their point of view, and suddenly we merchandise that on social media? We chop it up and there are 15-second vignettes on social media. Maybe there's a larger video that we host on our YouTube channel or on the website. And then we also want to think about infographics that visualize certain facts or insights that you can offer as a brand. There are so many ways to communicate and merchandise your thought leadership, and you want to think through all of those systems and all of those tactics to give yourself firm footing and a wide variety of opportunities to engage your audience. Step 4, when it comes to building a thought leadership platform, is sharing and merchandising. So this is about the channels. Of course, social media is key. You manage social media on behalf of a lot of our clients, Jake. Talk about how thought leadership can be communicated on a social media platform.
Sure, yeah. And just like we talked about with written content kind of being the easiest first step or the one that makes the most sense, sharing these thought leadership articles and blogs, whatever it may be, out on social media is kind of the good first step. So, whether it's written content or a video, you already have an existing base of, engaged customers on your social media channels, hopefully. So sharing, that's really an easy way to get that content out to more people and people that are already interested in your brand. And
in many ways, that can also attract others to follow your brand because suddenly it resonates with them in some way. So it can operate in that way as well. An e-newsletter is something to consider as well. It's a tactic that's been around for a while, but a properly formatted e-newsletter that is a digest of news provides you with a mechanism to share multiple points of entry. Maybe it's an infographic and a blog post and a video all in one, and it's a quick read and something that arrives in your prospect or customer's inbox, and it gives them multiple ways to engage your brand, and it gives you multiple ways to feature yourself as a thought leader. Perhaps that's part of an e-marketing campaign where you build out an entire campaign. You're sending out an e-blast twice a month to the database that you've cultivated, and in some cases you're sprinkling in that thought leadership. You don't want it to just be pushing product, because that is a one-note kind of song. You don't want to sing a one-note song. It's got to have multiple notes and multiple keys in it. And then, of course, what we're doing right now, perhaps this is a mechanism for you to consider when it comes to positioning yourself as a thought leader. Our goal with Hubs and Drivers is to provide a forum whereby we have insightful discussions on key topics within the building and construction industry, and it's our hope to provide a guidance and insight into key topics for our customers and our prospects. So many ways for us to position our clients as thought leaders with insight and perspective. Jake, thanks for being here today. Great discussion.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Driving thought leadership for a brand means finding a way to connect with your audience, and that means you don't want to talk over their heads. Interesting LinkedIn survey recently on B2B thought leadership found that 64% of respondents who were decision makers, they favor a more human, less formal tone of voice rather than an even-toned intellectual one. So it's about tone. It's not just about speaking from on high. It's making sure you connect with your audience when you're delivering that thought leadership content and positioning your organization as a thought leader. Hey, would you like us to cover a specific topic on Hubs and Drivers? Reach out to us. Email us at info@hubsanddriverspodcast.com. That's info@hubsanddriverspodcast.com. Thanks for joining us on this episode. I'm Jeff Donaldson. Join us next time for Hubs and Drivers.